Hey guys, welcome to the analysis for February 28th. Today, of course, a Thursday, and had unemployment claims today, which we'll talk about in a minute. And a pretty good day overall for movement in the market. A few pairs still struggling, kind of right where they were, like the AUD, and we'll talk about that. But had some nice rejection on this euro. We talked about the potential for that to reverse right back down at any point, and definitely did not get to follow through back to the trend line, as you can see. And so definitely want to discuss the potential there for it to fight back through that 130 zone and some potential targets to the downside and lots of other good stuff. But before we get into that, just want to cover our news for tomorrow. It's the first Friday of the month, which is always fun. So I want to cover that, and then we'll go through our terms real quickly and get right back into the analysis. All right, guys. So for tomorrow, we have 8:30 a.m. CAD news. That's GDP, gross domestic product for the CAD. So we'll want to pay attention to that. We're keeping an eye on that USDCAD, so we'll see how that affects that pair. And then at 10 a.m. we have ISM manufacturing. Now I was thinking that today would be non-farms, but it's not. So you can disregard that. I was thinking that we'd hit non-farms and have some interesting movement there, but because non-farms is not coming out tomorrow, that dulls down the news a little bit. Now Bernanke speaking, of course, that's later, apparently 10 p.m., which is another thing I did not realize he's speaking so late. So that'll be after the market is closed, and it'll be interesting to see if there's any gap potential. You might want to be out of your U.S. dollar cross trades tomorrow in case you're worried about that. The market could open with a gap there based on what he says. So that's something to keep in mind. But overall, really not that heavy on news. I was thinking that we'd have a little more news as far as coming out tomorrow morning, but we'll see. It's one of those things where when the market has less news in it, you expect it to flow a little more easily, a little less confusion. So perhaps some of the technical setups that we talk about today have a little better chance of continuing or setting up or perfecting because there's not a non-farms. And so we'll take a look at that and see what potential we have there. Alright guys, just to quickly cover our terms so that we can get back into the charts here. It's important for legal purposes to understand that the United States government does not allow free educational websites who are not licensed to give investment advice. So we have to be clear that we're not giving investment advice. We're just giving free information, our view of the market, and it's for educational purposes only. Alright, so if you need to read through that and understand it, please make sure you take the time to do that so that you understand those completely. Okay, euro dollar, again, obviously shifting right back and heading back down, getting closer to the bottom of this little support cluster here right around 130. We talked about yesterday the bounce here, the potential that it could go up to this trend line before seeing a turnaround. Of course, that did not happen. So we stopped kind of on a dime right here in this, the top is just because you could easily draw this zone up and say that this is really the resistance zone here. And so if that's the case, you say, just bouncing in between the zone here. And so to me, I still think the potential of the breakout to the downside is very real here. US dollar gaining strength, pretty strong across the board. We'll take a look at the USD yen in a minute. Very nice pop in the USD yen today. So overall, I think the reversal potential is definitely here. Now, as far as targets, once it breaks out of the zone, our first target, in my opinion, of course, is going to be this 50 fib. That's going to be the most obvious target if it breaks through. It's the next zone. It also corresponds historically with some good price action. So that could definitely be a short-term target. Now, as far as longer-term targets, there's the next fib level, of course, but I also think that it's not limited to coming all the way back down. And when I say back down, I mean all the way toward 120. Because the euro dollar has been at this price before. This is not a an impossible price for the euro dollar to head down. And really, if you scroll down, you can see. Let me scroll down here a little bit. That overall, this is still much of a downtrend. Let me get rid of these lines here. We were all the way up at near 1.5, and so this is really just a pullback on the longer term in a large downtrend. And so it wouldn't be surprising if price were to continue and head all the way back down to those prices. So that's a little bit longer term view, of course, but I don't think that that's out of the picture. So assuming that this euro, continues to weaken and the dollar, of course, continues to strengthen, this could be some really long-term potential big trading opportunities on the euro dollar. And so I think that's worth looking at. Don't ignore the levels on the way down, of course, but this could be one that you think big on. taking a look at that euro dollar. Alright guys, as I mentioned, US yen, pretty nice bullish day to the upside. Obviously everything looks dwarfed compared to this bearish bar, but still a really consistent day overall. Channeled earlier, but then moved nicely upward. And so to me, again, because of that USD strength, this looks pretty bullish. It's rounding out nicely. It's looking like it wants to come back. Could test this little line that's forming here. Could come back up to 94.38. Test that level, could break and make a new high and continue the upward pressure here. So to me, US yen, another one with a lot of potential. Of course, euro dollar short and US yen long are both USD longs, so you got to be careful about the doubling of the risk and picking your trade there. But I do see a lot of potential in both, and like the opportunities that are provided based on the trends that are behind these things. So definitely think there's a lot of potential in both of those pairs. Alright, this is a really zoomed out picture of the pound dollar on the daily. Just want to show you, the reason I'm zoomed out is to show you how big this level is and why I really thought that after price dropped we'd see a retest of this zone. But you know what? It's really struggling to get back up there. So when I zoom in, I just want to show you here. We broke through, we gapped lower, and we bounced some, bullish bar here, bounced some, but have not been able to retest onto this 152.80 area. So to me, that's still what I'm really waiting on the pound dollar. I don't want to do anything until it gets up here, retests, either breaks or retests and goes lower. That's the area when I want to look for either a buy or a sell. To me, it doesn't really matter which one, but I want to wait till that area is tested, because until then, I just don't see a lot of of signs. It's difficult for me to pick a direction and to pick a side of the market without seeing it come back and retest this major level or break that major level. So just want to be clear why I'm so set on it coming back to that level and why I'm not trading it until it does. Now, of course, if it never tests that level, if it goes down, and is 3,000 pips lower 6 months from now, I'm not going to still be waiting for that level. But in the immediate future, while it's hanging around here, I do want to see that retest, and so that's what I'm waiting for on the pound dollar. Alright, odd dollar, still hanging right again at this level. I mentioned that earlier. Oh, and going over this odd dollar actually reminds me about the trading room, because the trading room is now open to the public. I know that we sent out an email, many of you responded, and so what I'll do is I'll put a link below this video if you're interested in the trading room. We have it, our standard price, which is $199 a month that we set up for it, but we also have a couple cool deals if you do like 6 month or a yearly or whatever. You save like a whole bunch of money. So check that out. That's below. But Chris, the reason this reminded me of this was because Chris, who's our trading room host, took this odd dollar short much higher up here earlier when it came back and retested this area. He took a short during the trading room, and so those are the people who are in the room should be up really nicely on that trade. Was a really good call. So that just reminded me to check out that trading room if you're interested in that. And it's a cool thing to check out. Okay, so odds still sitting here, still waiting for a break or a bounce on that one. Could definitely get a bounce here where it breaks this trend line and then heads up toward our top zone here around 106. I think that's definitely a good potential, but of course waiting for the potential of the downside as well. So keep an eye on that odd. I think that we're at a critical zone here on the odd. Similar to that zone in the pound that I wanted to test. For me, finding these areas and waiting for them to either bounce or break is one of my favorite ways to trade, because I think that gives a pretty definite direction of where the market wants to go. If it's just based in space, if there's not a big level there, it can just float. But if it's based on a huge level and it's either breaking or bouncing, then you have a little more confidence and a little more idea of where that thing wants to go, because it's making a move from a known area of support or resistance where there's a reason for its movement. Okay, so this odd at the 102 area is one of those zones that I think could be a great trading opportunity depending on the break or bounce. Alright guys, next I have up here the USDCAD, a really interesting pair because it's another one that was struggling for a while. In the middle of an area, not really, it's only a few days here, but you can see the pivot at 1.3 pushed it down. It looked like a legitimate reversal opportunity yesterday. I was actually thinking, okay, this could be one where you could throw a stop up here and target all the way down to 101. We could have a nice big reversal trade. And then today, that USD strength just came through so strong, and the CAD had one of its weaker days, and this thing popped all the way back up to 1.3. So now it's sitting right back at 1.3, and so the two potentials I laid out were either a reversal where it comes down and goes all the way toward 101, or the fact that this might be just the middle of an uptrend, a few bar pullback, and a continuation. Right now, it's looking like the latter. So this could really be a nice move all the way up to 104 or higher. Our previous high is above 104. It's up here, which is like 104.4. So this could be the continuation of that move. It's still sitting right on 103, so I'd wait for a break. But with all the USD strength, again, I don't suggest taking a million USD longs. But it's just amazing how it's affecting every cross, and the CAD being one of the weakest today had one of the biggest effects. So all the way back up to 103, could see a break here and a move toward higher highs. I'm pretty amazed at how much strength came through on this pair, because the CAD typically does not reverse so easily, I guess, is what I want to say. So definitely an interesting dynamic there to take a look at. Alright guys, and I'll finish up with my least favorite pair of late, which is this euro pound. It's still floating in this big zone that is just, to me, a lot of confusion and lack of direction. The euro is reversing, but the pound is also reversing. The pound has shown some glimpse of strength, but the euro has also shown some glimpse of strength. So there's just not any consistency in the pair with the euro against the pound. So I just want to, I know this is boring to go over this every day, but I just want to let you know that I'm still waiting on this. It's sitting near 86 right now, has a little bit of a base here. Could bounce back up toward the top, but I'm just not ready to trade it yet. I want to wait till it gets totally out of this zone, or if it's going to move sideways for a while, then maybe develop some buying zones, or excuse me, some selling zones and some buying zones here, and range trade it. But for right now, it's not a sophisticated enough range to trade yet either. So it's just waiting. And I was loving trading the euro pound as it was ranging, or excuse me, as it was trending up here. The spike here was interesting, and if you caught it, would have been great. But lately, in this area, it's just very difficult for me to trade. Still waiting on that. Hopefully, we'll get some good trade ideas. If you guys are trading the euro pound and having some success, please comment and let me know. I would love for a strategy to trade it, because typically I really do like trading the euro pound as a pair. But right now, for me, there's just not good trading opportunities. So you should give me any feedback on that if you're trading well with it. All right, guys, and that's it for the analysis. I do so much appreciate you guys coming and checking it out as always. I appreciate if you tweet it on Facebook. If you'll share it on Facebook and tweet it on Twitter, if you don't mind taking a minute to do that, that means a lot. And once again, check out that trading room if you're interested. I think it's a pretty good deal, and it's pretty cool that Chris is showing his live trades. He's setting up his stops and targets right in front of you, which is cool. So check that out if you're interested, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.